Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Blooped with Vanessa and Vilas. We're so happy that you're here with us today. And today we're going to be talking about the second part of your story. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But I just wanted to check in with everyone and you, Vilas. How's the week? How's the day?
Yesterday was like 85 degrees outside and it was absolutely stunning. So I'm happy that spring decided to show a little bit of her leg there.
Yeah.
And today it's 80, so it's gorgeous. I've spent some time outside with my laptop doing my work outside.
When you have such a beautiful space back
Yeah.
there, it's gorgeous. So,
Yeah. I'm
oh,
so thrilled. It's been so many months since I've enjoyed the outside space that I'm just like, oh, my grass. I can see you. I can see you.
that's awesome. I happen to be in all hot parts of the country,
Yeah.
so haven't had that experience. I mean,
Yeah.
although I will say that when my trees are blooming, some of these trees went dead during the winter. It is fun to see like a tree just all of a sudden sprout.
Yeah. My favorite tree in my yard is a weeping beech, and it takes the longest to sprout. And so every year I panic that it's dead because it comes in late spring. And I'm like, no, no. And then it just bursts one day. It's insane and gorgeous.
It sounds beautiful. Is it green? Is it like just all green, or is it something else?
No, it's red. It's like a burgundy, and it's weeping. It's the one right outside the kitchen, right out back of the kitchen.
In the back. Oh,
Yeah. And
okay.
it's this really tall, weeping, gorgeous tree. It's my favorite tree.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah. We call her a weeping witch.
Weeping witch.
Gonna
I
save
love
the
that.
planet. She's gonna save the planet.
There's something poetic about that.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Well, on a more serious note, we're going to dive into the second part of your story today. Um, and maybe we can just catch up anybody who jumps in and listens now, catch them up on where we left off last week. And then we can kind of go into, the next spot. So I think last week we just talked about, um, do you want to do a quick, how about you just do tell us real quick?
Yeah. So last week we sort of went over like the first, let's say, 14 years of my life, and running around the world where my parents were trying to open temples in different countries, and um, the various horrific Gurukula, which is the boarding schools. I did ask Shri if she'd come on and tell us all about the words, and she said, that was her response. I see you, Shri.
We see you, Shri. Yeah, we'll do a session on all the vocabulary that we use
Yeah,
in a couple of weeks.
I know, but it is I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but in our everyday lives, we actually don't get to use most of the language that we used growing up. And so even
Don't
on
say when you have to go pee that you have to go service your body.
yeah, or pa- pass urine or whatever. Yeah. Like just the weird way that the cults speak. And so it's been interesting to be a little bit more free flowing because I know that you know the words, and a lot of people I'm too humble. Of course you are, Shri. Um Nobody is more humble than you except for me, of course. And
I am humble.
no, yeah. I'm like, no, I gave that up for Lent. But, I have found it interestingly refreshing and have almost on occasion forgotten that some of the words that just fly out because 'cause I'm talking to you and I'm having this really direct and in the moment dialogue where those are the words. And so some of the times I'm like, "Oh, well, people can ask or we'll figure it out." And,
Yeah.
and explain them eventually, or sometimes you can get stuff from context, but
Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
it's funny because my friend Julie made a comment about my name yesterday and said, "Well, your father gave you that name." And I was like, "No." And she says, "Who gave it to you?" And I said, "Prabhupada." And the ability to just say it without explaining,
Mhm.
really cool. I was just like, "Prabhupada gave me that name."
Yeah.
And she's a lay person that doesn't know our past, but knows has been in this dialogue sufficiently where I could say that and she'll be like, "Got it,"
Yeah.
knew the drew the line.
Well, I love that because I think that integrating that language actually is a really healing part. I find it really healing and really cool is that there's no part of me that I am withholding at all anymore. I've never been quiet about my experience, but there's no part of me that's censoring. I'm not saying I'm not going to talk about it because you won't get it. Like, we'll figure it out. And I don't know, is that, do you kind of feel like it's got a little bit of that healing element?
Well, not
Or
yes,
integration, like
absolutely.
you're integrated now.
Yeah, and that I'm just, easier understood or I'm more seen because I'm not having to qualify everything that I say with a backstory and a philosophical explanation. I'm just like,
Mhm.
"This happened," and you kind of get the context. But, it's funny because I've been hooked on this, I guested on that podcast, Was I in a Cult?
Yeah,
And after I finished guesting with them, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to a few episodes," and I'm so hooked, and I'm not a person who normally likes to follow cult stuff because it
yeah.
feels triggering to me, and I
Mhm.
was like, "But is it, or is it just annoying?" And so I was like, "Alright, let me just listen," and these stories are fascinating, really fascinating, and, you really do learn a lot of the jargon.
Mhm.
The one of the hosts is an ex-Mo, which is ex-Mormon. Like, there are words for everything. I listened to a few stories of cults that I'd never heard of, and you just the stories are really amazing. People's ability to survive, um, harrowing experiences
Yeah,
is it's just was really cool. Um And I highly recommend listening to them because, I
good.
mean, they have a little bit of a comedic and irreverent take on everything, which I really appreciate
Yeah.
because that's kind of my take on things. I'm a bit like, "Oh, fuck them all." And
Yep.
and I'm very, humor. We've talked about
Talk
humor
a lot
as
about humor.
as
Yeah.
a method of surviving and explaining things, and sometimes things that are horrific that you've experienced, you just have to kinda laugh it off at some point, and, I mean, and that's a horrible thing to say in context because somebody said that to me after my rape one day, "You're gonna look back and laugh about it," and it's like, I'm still not laughing about it, but I laugh about my life as a whole being
Mhm.
this, like, insane roller coaster ride and journey of adventure and cultures and people and languages and all kinds of different things, and
Yeah.
I don't mind laughing about it as a whole, and then, uh, in the context of specific events. No, there are certain things that are unforgivable. Are you there?
I'm here.
I was blacked out. There are certain things that are unforgivable. There are certain things that are unlaughable. Nobody's ever going to laugh when we retrospectively look back at the damage, the colossal damage the Epstein experience has happened
No.
to all of those victims. There are certain things that are
Mhm.
very sobering
Yeah.
and not laughable, but a lot of things like the cult language and stuff like
Mhm.
that,
It's very
um,
silly.
yeah,
Well, I can laugh at certain things, like I'll talk about my stuff later, but I've found myself laughing at the ridiculousness of something or the hypocrisy of something, not the act itself, but like the absolute absurdity of that situation
right,
is laughable because it's so ridiculous, and you're just like, "Oh my god. All right."
yeah. So,
So,
um,
well, let's take us back to your story. So, we started off with using the word Gurukula, which just means it's the name of the school. We'll talk about the in depth of that later. But we left off at your story where your husband decided
he
you were
decided he
18 at
was
this point.
I was 14. Was I 15? I had not turned 15 yet. And he decided he was done. And the funny thing I like to say about that is that he was done babysitting me. Why
Mhm.
did he leave? Um, I don't know. He was done. He was like, "Yeah, I'm over this." And we
I'm
weren't
over being married to a child.
yeah.
Okay,
What else?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just maybe not compatible and whatever. It didn't occur to me that we weren't compatible. What was that? So I was like, all right, this is my next fate, right? So we talk about the train ride back from Bangalore
Yes, you said that it
to
was beautiful and
oh God, it was
the
just and it
element of just freedom.
yeah, that it was freeing. And I really enjoyed the 2 days of just journeying on the train through the country and seeing so many different sights whiz by. And, it was what I used to tell myself was that I reinvented myself every couple of years because new circumstances would present, whether I made that choice or somebody else made it for me. In my childhood, I never made any of the choices. They were all made for me. And then as I grew older, I started making some choices and then I would pivot. But sometimes, these decisions were made for me in my childhood. And I was like, all right, let's figure out how we're going to survive this. And so, here I was. It was probably right before my 15th birthday. And he took me back to Vrindavan and dropped me off in the guest house. And that was it.
Did you ever have a conversation? Did he ever say, like, "This is done, I need to move on," or anything?
Yeah. On the train back, I questioned, not that it's my place. I questioned like, okay, so but what what now and what happens to me and what do you mean and stuff like that. And he was like, I don't know. You can go back to Vrindavan and you can figure out what you're gonna do next.
Were you sad
No,
or
I wasn't attached to him at all.
oh,
I was I was hitched to him for lack of a better word, and I just went along.
okay.
But he wasn't so I didn't feel anything.
Yeah,
It's not like I felt unsafe or less or abandoned. I certainly felt abandoned because now my new owner was chucking me aside. All right. So
yeah.
there's that. But it wasn't like somebody that I needed to be attached to in
Yeah,
for myself.
right, right.
So he drops me off in Vrindavan and then I end up back at the Goshala. The Goshala is a cow barn. Happy to be on your own. Yes. Julie was explaining what I was saying.
No, I asked the question because she had made the comment, if you were happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm back at the Goshala. The Goshala is the cow barn. And it had householder living quarters. And so I'm there in this what the best way to describe this is it is a 4 by 6 cell. It was like a stall, and there's a window on the back that is probably 1 square foot with bars on it, not glass or screen, just the bars. And then the
This is where
front,
you living in Vrindavan?
yes,
Okay.
and the front door of the stall cell kind of thing was the same. It had like so you could have some cross air flowing, but there it wasn't.
Who
And
had crosshair?
Yeah, exactly. Because it
Oh,
was now spring, early summer, and I got very sick. I got malaria,
oh,
and I didn't know I had malaria. I just was sleeping a lot, and I also didn't know if I was sleeping a lot because I was maybe depressed or if I was um, just sad. I wouldn't have even known the word depressed. I would have thought, all right, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm just going to sleep.
yeah.
So I ended up in that cell for some weeks, and I got sicker and sicker. I kind of lost my sight. I had very high fever. I was delirious, and I was very weak. And the heat and the sun outside during the day, I wasn't able to leave. So I would go out only at night, and I would go to there was an outhouse. So I would go there, and then on the way back from the outhouse, I would fill my lota with some water and bring it back to my room, and that was to help me survive the next 24 hours. It was pretty scary.
How did you find out you had malaria?
Well, uh it was probably a couple of weeks before someone found me. And I was pretty out of it, and somebody found me and took me to the clinic in Vrindavan. And they were unimpressed because it was instantly malaria to them. And here you go. Here's some quinine. Go take that, and you're fine. But while I was there at the clinic, um, you know, ready to die, I I was laying on a concrete slab, and I was out of it. My mind was just gone, and I'd had enough, and I really, really, really wanted to die. And I begged to Krishna, dear Lord Krishna, you have to spare me from the rest of this life because I've had enough. I've done everything you've asked. I've followed all of the things that I've been told by all of the gurus and my parents and the temple leaders and everybody. So I would really like to die. And
Pretty heavy thought for a 15-year-old, but I can see being alone in India with malaria. I mean, that seems like a charitable or a compassionate exit, I would imagine. Like, you might have been feeling that, right? In that moment, like,
do you
just
know what's a really weird thing that I haven't even written down and I haven't said it out loud in all of the years since? Um, is that the only thing the only thing that I could bargain with Krishna was that I hadn't had children because I thought that that was the purpose of my existence, to
mhm,
serve men, breed children, and serve men and God, and be an oven. And so it was very interesting that I was like, I've done everything. I've done everything you've said. I've gotten married. I've done everything. And in the back of my head, I was like, well, I didn't have children. So is my purpose done? Is
oh,
my purpose
wow.
even done because I haven't birthed a child?
Oh my goodness.
So I've never been able to reconcile why I thought that that was an important thing for God to take into consideration, because apparently I thought God needed me to just like go breed. Um, and so,
Did
but
you guys talk about that in your marriage?
no,
Okay.
I don't know how I got lucky, but I never got pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't die, which in my book, the chapter of this bargaining with God is called Fractured Faith, because that was probably the largest fracture at that point in my faith. My I had some initial like pokes at the theory along the way where I was like, this doesn't feel right, or this feels, you know, uncomfortable or strange or wrong even, but lots of things felt wrong, but if the guru said it, then it didn't matter, you know? It's like people believe what the Bible says, it doesn't matter if it's
Yeah,
morally or ethically absolutely wrong, like beating your wife or slavery or whatever, and it's like,
yeah,
"No, but we still follow," and I'm like, "Okay."
because God
Um,
said it.
God said. And so many events had already happened that I felt were just morally wrong, and I was like, "But, you know, God." And so when I didn't die, it was sort of an invitation to exit for me. I was just like, well, if you're not listening or you don't care or you don't actually exist, then maybe it's time for me to go live my life.
How did you even know? Like, that's such an interesting thought too, because it's, our lives were so sheltered in some ways. I mean, you had exposure to India and Iran, and you had some of that, but to go live your life, I mean, what did that mean to you at that point?
Had no clue.
Okay, you just knew it wasn't in the Hare Krishna thing. Like, you
I
just knew you'd wanted.
I felt imminent danger in Vrindavan
Yeah,
because of everything that was going on around me,
yeah.
the way that I was looked at and treated, and the fact that I started hanging out with some of the Gurukula boys and they were telling me about what teachers were doing, which was pretty reprehensible. And I ended up writing Donadar, who was the headmaster of the school at the time, a nasty, nasty letter and sliding it under his door and basically telling him that I hope he rots in hell forever. We don't believe in heaven and hell like that. It's different. But
Uh,
um,
Good.
it's funny when I say it in the present tense, like I still believe any of that. But
You're like,
I'm like, wait a minute.
Did we?" I don't know.
No, it's much more horrifying. There's
Oh, it's
demons
so
and
terrible.
oh god, heaven and hell sounds like an easy cakewalk,
Oh,
but
the devil is a buddy compared to what they talked about.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you
So
this letter, this is your blooped letter, like, "I'm out."
this is my I'm blooping and hellish planets. Yes, Shri. So uh all of the planets were actually gods and there were demons and nobody was actually good or bad. Everybody was good and bad. Like if you think about like
Yeah.
all of the mythological creatures that were fought in the various, they all had their excuses or their justification for the horrible things.
Oh, that
Um,
sounds like humans.
yeah.
Oh my
So
okay.
a couple of, you know, well, I recovered from the malaria and then this woman asked me if I wanted to um travel with her and go sell life memberships like I was doing with my now ex-husband.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, that sounds less intimidating. And so I agreed. My mother had now come back to Vrindavan and she agreed. She's like, yeah, yeah, take her away. And so she and I traveled around India for a while she pimped me out.
This devotee woman was
This
pimping you out.
devotee woman was pimping me out because why not? I mean, I had learned that I was this commodity, my body,
Yeah.
and, so we did that for a while, but then
Was she a devotee from the US, or she was
she was from the US, but she was Indian he heritage,
okay.
but she was US born. Um, anyway, so a few things had happened and I was just like, "I'm done. I'm done." I had turned 15 and I was just like, "This is the end." And so I left, and I got on a rickshaw, made my way to the train station, and, went to Delhi, and
By
for
yourself at 15.
by myself at 15 and floated around, um, just, surviving on literally my good looks, which are questionable.
But you had money at the time, or you had no money?
No money.
So you were just hoping someone, like, to feed you or to let you stay somewhere or
Yep,
whatever. Okay.
yep, and, frequently that involved sex.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
What do you
Um,
Yeah,
so, I mean, what had I learned so far about surviving?
yeah. Nothing at that point.
What did I have to trade?
Yeah.
Myself. That's all I had. So, so far, if we're tracking, I've had no education. I really have no parents.
Mm,
And this cult, I really like the more I think about it, the more strongly I feel that cults and religion as a whole are literally child abuse because they really disable a child's ability to make moral decisions and ethical choices because it's been removed and replaced by a doctrine that says, beat your wife and it's okay to have slaves.
it's like it's
Well,
very externalized. There's no intrinsic they're not cultivating an intrinsic sense of, like, safety or what's right or wrong or
right,
good for you or not good for you.
right. And it
Uh,
doesn't matter if it's good for you or not good for you. You just have to do it because, the
God said
book
it.
says so.
Yeah, exactly.
Prabhupada says that's another
Yeah.
click word.
Yeah,
But
we've had that conversation, I think, in the past that religion really set is kind of a grooming environment. It really sets up between the mythology and the behavior and the lack of protection for children. It is a cesspool or can be a cesspool for abusers, and very vulnerable people get very, very hurt. And without a culture that actually, like, stands up against that stuff, they all have a bad name at this point. I mean, I see it.
and we're seeing in
Mhm,
regular culture and secular culture, we're seeing that we don't stand up for women's rights and girls' rights and
mhm,
victims. We don't. So it validates
mhm.
that component.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I ended up wandering around Delhi for a bit, and my parents came back to India and found me in Delhi, and I ended up back with them quite begrudgingly on their part, I suppose, on both of our parts. But I kind of had the attitude at this point that, listen, you very gladly gave me away.
Mhm.
And so I don't think you're entitled to, acting like you're my mother. You don't get to just say, your curfew is 11 p.m. I'm like, fuck off. You got me
Like, you
married.
can go get fucked by some older guy, but you have to be home by 11.
Right.
Like, what
I was
the
like, I don't listen to your rules anymore.
that's not mathing, that's not tracking.
No, and I also, without the word for this, but I had considered myself emancipated. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, legally in the outside world, you're still responsible for me, but I'm pretty clear on where we stand. So I lived with them in Delhi and Calcutta for a couple more years, and another year and a half maybe, because I was 16 when I was now in Calcutta International School and, struggling along trying to catch up from the last 10 years of not. And I had made a lot of friends and was dating this cute boy and um, had, we had a bunch of different groups of friends. And I was out with a group of friends and I had a pepperoni pizza. And my father found out, my parents found out, and they were like, absolutely not. That's it. You're out.
They kicked you out for eating a pepperoni pizza.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the
Well, and
life.
just the context is that being a vegetarian was, like, the most and more important than not abusing children. So,
Far more important.
Yeah.
apparently. So I'm now my dad gives me a one-way ticket back to the States, and $100. Hmm?
To live where? With who?
My sister was in DC at the time.
Okay.
She was married also, she was 17. Well, if I was 16, she was 17. And so I made my way back to the States and found her. She was now separated from her husband and living in a rooming house, just renting a room. And so she's like, "Well, you can't stay here." So then I was homeless again. Um, so I lived on the streets of DC for a few months, for about 3 months. I came back in September, and December, Christmas Eve, I called my grandmother, and my grandmother said, "Oh, do you wanna come here?" And I'm standing in a payphone wearing fatigues with all of the clothes in my possession, literally in my possession, and I was like, "I mean, I'd rather be homeless in California than homeless in DC, so I'll take it." So she loaned me, the $200 ticket to fly to California, and I was there within a week. So I was there New Year's Eve,
Way to
and
way to date yourself too, by the way, a $200 plane ticket.
I know. From DC to Cali, that's true.
So
Um,
okay, so you get to California.
so I get to California and, this is an adjustment period. My mother and father specifically said, "Don't go to your grandmother's." But like I said, I don't listen to them, so I said, "Huh, I'll do what I need to." And so, my grandmother didn't know what to do with me, like, was she supposed to enroll me in high school? Was she supposed to take me to church? Was she what was she gonna do with me? And so there was some struggle there where I took some classes at YMCA and I tried to figure out what I was supposed to do, where to fit in. I got a job working for a appliance company in Pasadena, and I was not really able to go back to school. I had seen too much and it didn't make sense, and I didn't know how to assimilate into a high school situation.
Yeah, sitting in a classroom and everybody kind of moving every 40 minutes to something and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
you
Don't
may
get me
as well been on Mars.
don't get me started on the Pledge of Allegiance. Um, so, uh, it was rough. But I had this job, and then I started dating this guy, and then I ended up getting into a huge fight with my grandmother about how I'm always giving my parents such a hard time. And I was like, "I can't. I'm not gonna." I have no tolerance for people who defend, insanity. And I'm just like, I don't know much at this point in my life, but I do know that those people did not do right by me. So I'm not interested in arguing against why I feel I should be cared for, or arguing for why I think I'm entitled to be loved by parents. Like,
Yeah.
sorry.
Or
So
did she
so
have
I
any
left my
what you had been through or that you had been married?
yeah.
She knew. Okay. Okay. Okay.
No, I don't know if I ever told her I was raped. I mean, she knew I was married. Um, she knew I was in these gurukuls. She knew that Dallas was shut down because I remember these conversations around it. Like, she knew all of these horrifying things that had happened, and I'm like, but her my my mother's sister was a little bit annoyed that my grandmother was having to take care of me. Why
Mhm.
wasn't my mother ever just going to step up and be responsible and take care of her daughters? So there was just other family dynamics that, it wasn't comfortable. It was wonderful. Got to sleep in a bed. I got to live with my grandmother. We both chain smoked and played cards, and it was a great time. But
I bet she was a cool chick.
She was. She was divorced before divorce was popular, and she was pretty much of a badass. I mean, she was cool. She had, polio when she was 9, and she had this, like, uh, hunch in her back from her injury, and then getting polio. And she was like 4'9", and she was an accountant for Vons, and she was a badass. Like, she was completely self-sufficient. She's like, she took care of herself. She was, in charge of the bridge club, and she did all of the things, but,
I love it.
um and she survived in a time when, she had, a severe disability, but there was no ADA, there was no disability protection, and she made her way. So we all have our stories. Like, I
Yeah,
understand, like, everybody has harrowing, uh, tales of things that have happened in their families or their own experiences or with their friends or whatever. But, um, I think that everybody survives with the tools that they can find,
right.
and unfortunately, the tools my grandmother could only find were, whiskey and cigarettes, because, she was in pain and nobody
Mhm.
was helping her.
Right.
The work that she initially started doing was picking vegetables when she was 18 years old, standing in a vegetable, conveyor belt line, and so she put in her hard work and she did the things. But, long before she could be protected. So, I mean, like, I have respect, and I also
Yeah.
have looked in depth into why my parents made the choices they did, and
Mhm.
it's hard. There are things that some of us will never know about the decisions our families make, right?
And sometimes, I mean, so much of it is contextual also, like that time people joined cults in the '60s and early '70s, like, it was an unimaginable time. We might actually be getting closer now to imagining why people were so rebellious and why they joined cults then, but, yeah, I don't think it's a cut and dry answer.
Well, listening to that podcast, the Was I in a Cult podcast, I am discovering that they're everywhere.
Okay.
And they're still happening, and there are these little splinter groups that just decide that they are the word of God, and so many people are willing to follow.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, um, so many people are willing, even knowing that these types of organizations are so toxic and never end well. This isn't gonna end well.
Well, I
Uh
think it speaks to the infantile brain, not the serpent brain or whatever people wanna call it, but the infantile brain. Like, the infantile adult needs to be told what to do. They need a mommy and daddy still. They need, punishment and awards. And it's just part of, I think, a human condition that
yeah.
we don't have an answer for, but it seems also that it is a condition. Like, if we are teaching people to be critical thinkers and to trust themselves and to question authority and to find an inner moral compass within themselves early on, that we would probably have less people doing things like that in a bad way, in a negative way or a hurtful way. I mean, this is my guess that, we're just training people to not think for themselves. And so there's always this missing piece, and they find it in a religion, not a community, but like in a religion where there's an external dad who's going to whoop your ass if you aren't good. Like, whatever, but it just, I call it the infantile brain, because to me that's when someone doesn't grow into the ability to think for themselves and to be a critically assess what's right, wrong, good, bad, whatever, they're about 4 years old. So,
Um, I wonder if let's pretend in some sort of a utopian, um, fantasy that religion and God didn't exist and people searched for purpose, and they could find that being kind to others and lifting others up and being compassionate and caring about their community, which starts the ripple effect and covers blankets the entire world. Like, if we could actually care about each other, including the trees and the animals and the waters and all of the things that this earth has to offer us, I just wonder what a beautiful world it could possibly be if we all just gave a shit about each other and stopped trying to please. Even at even it's hard for me to talk to people who believe in God because they can't imagine something like that. It's not possible for them to see that the beauty without God.
But that's like
And
when you're a little kid, you cannot see beyond your parents.
right,
You cannot even imagine what the world is like when you're a little kid. It's mom and dad or whoever's the caretaker, right? You can't see beyond that person. And I think that's where religion keeps people stuck and childish forever because they can never see beyond this
right.
this external thing that they can't grow up fully. I know we're going to get a lot of shit for this, but but I don't think you can really grow into who you are and your potential as a human,
Well, the interesting part about
you
everything you're
know.
saying is that they can disagree if they want.
Anybody, yeah, exactly.
Disagree.
Disagree with us, it's fine. Uh,
Um, well, and so back to real life and what happens when you leave a cult is, first of all, I had a little bit of a bridge between the two worlds. And what we are called is culture kids. Third culture kids have the culture they were born in, and then they have the culture they were raised in, and then they don't fit in either, and they're called third culture kids.
oh, that's a
So,
cool word, I didn't know that.
there's a lot of books on it, but it is a thing, and the thing that helped me bridge from being in the cult and then leaving was the fact that I was in India. So I had some Western exposure as
Mhm.
much as India was Western at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I came back to the States, I had had that minute in India where I was out and had made friends and felt like I was learning the outside world, the normal world. And then I came to the States and it was still a culture shock. I
Imagine.
still didn't speak right. Even if I wasn't using our jargon, I was, I had a little bit of an Indian accent, peppered with British, peppered with weird words that were used by when India was colonized, but also not knowing whether they were ISKCON words or whether they were Indian or British usage.
Mhm.
So I didn't know. Like, there were words like pavilion, because we would have, festivals and there would be a pavilion or a pandal, like just different words that we used. I'm like, is that English? I don't remember.
Yeah,
Because if I use it with you all the time and you speak English and maybe don't speak another language, it must be English, but it isn't. And
yeah.
so I would use all these words and I'm like, do you know that word? Am I making sense?
I
So
always wanna use the word pucka, but nobody and I use it, and then I have
that's
to
a
explain
beautiful
what it
word.
is because it's the only word to describe something sometimes. It's, like, literally the only word that I know how to say, like, pucka. You're like,
Do you know that almost every language has one of those kinds of words that can't really be translated perfectly because it just fits this dynamic? It
and the
fits,
feeling.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a pucka means like absolutely perfect. Like,
Mm. But
yeah,
that's not even, like, there's
not
still
good
something
enough.
missing in it. It's, like, precise.
Yeah, like
Like the kitchen
exact.
with pucka, but it's, like
It
but more
means
than perfect.
clean, precise, perfect, exact, it's like this like word that encapsulates so much in that one thing. Um, but Yeah, I always say that I have, really bad family karma because I don't really have good family, but, and to treat first
First
class.
class, I love
That
it.
means first class, yeah. But what does first class mean? Is that a ticket that you can buy on Spirit? No, it is not. But I did have extended family, but because my parents had alienated us from everybody,
Mhm.
it didn't we weren't close,
So
and
you went to live with your grandmother, you weren't hanging out with.
no, and my cousins were younger, they were little boys, and so I really don't know them, and my aunt was not a fan of mine, the mother of those cousins, and so she had no interest in connecting us, and, no, none of my family. I have a cousin who's, again, they were all younger, but I have another cousin on my father's side, and we're not close, they were all very, entitled, uh, and I just was different.
So you had no association.
I had no associations, and so I kept my bad associations, which includes Shri,
Oh my god.
uh,
Okay.
and Vanessa,
Vanessa.
So
I am the corrupter.
so here's this weird time period that went from when I was 15 years old until I was in my late 20s
Okay.
when I didn't talk to any devotees. I didn't talk to any Gurukula kids. Like, I still was in touch with a couple girls, very seldomly, because I'm like, just hide from it, run away, stick your head under a pillow, try to survive. So it was two things. It was the part where I was like, I need to be completely immersed in this world, in the karmi world, and figure out my life. And the other part was I need to focus and survive and figure out what I'm doing. And so this was a lot of years of treading water and just
Mhm.
just trying to, keep my nose above the water. And it wasn't I didn't have time to navel gaze and examine what happened in my life. And I would talk about it because I don't really hold much in, but
Right.
I would say things and people were so alarmed by the things that I would say that I then
Talk
stopped
about your childhood.
about my childhood. And so I was like, all right, don't bring that up because that's always, uh,
Yeah.
received poorly.
Yep.
And it was hard. I ended up marrying my daughter's father, and then
How
he
did you
left
meet him?
at the, um, warehouse, the, appliance place
Oh,
he was
sure. Yeah,
working at.
got it.
Um, you know, Shri asked if I tried a Carmi name. I went by Jay for a while because of Jayarade. So I went by Jay when I was in Calcutta. So all of my Calcutta friends knew me as Jay, which is really sad because they can't find me now because they wouldn't know my name.
Yep.
Um, and um, and then, when I came back and I was living at my grandmother's, I tried Alex on for a little while, and somebody called the house and said, "Is Alex there?" And my grandmother's like, "There's nobody here named Alex." And I was like, "Wait, grandma, that's for me," called the house, the one that's, like, hung up on the kitchen wall there.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Velocity, I have spent 16 years learning how to say your name. You will use it." And
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
okay.
Wow.
So,
That
Vilas went
so
back,
no Alex.
but I spent decades trying to apologize for my name, and I'm uncomfortable with my name.
You
Um,
still are?
no, it's unique now, and I'm learning to be less apologetic about my entire existence.
Yay,
I'm
good.
trying to be less apologetic.
Mhm.
I'm gonna call out Brigitte in this, and, I knew her as a different name in Dallas and then met her as a different person after we were both out and we're now treading water and surviving, and so we reconnected when the lawsuit happened, and, she uh, now has the name Bridget. Well, at some point along the way, somebody says, "Well, is it Bridget or Brigitte?" And I asked her, and she said Brigitte. And I was just like, she goes, "It doesn't matter." And so I still called her Bridget because it's not Lolita. So, and so and then I was talking to her daughter, and I said, "What do you call her?" Like she calls her mom, but she's like, "Well, I say Brigitte because her dad was French." And I'm like, "Bridget, why didn't you correct me?" And it's okay. And I'm like, "It's not okay. It's the least somebody can do to say your name the way you want them to.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
It's
Yeah,
hardly
yeah,
necessary for us to apologize for something so simple." You
yeah,
know, it's not necessary to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is SRI." Like, you get come
yeah.
on. Like, it's nobody's. Yeah, that was my
Well,
kind
this
of
would
my,
be kind of a fun episode is to do a whole name episode and even bring in some of our friends because I know that yeah, I have a name story like a lot of people have like a name story. So,
nipping up his goatee.
Jody. What is Jody for a name?
For a name? Not Siri. Shri is not Siri. But if Shri, if somebody called you Siri, you'd respond because you're like, "Sorry for my name." And I don't think that's necessary. "Oh, I said
Gross.
sorry." And so Nipuna said, "Jody." Got it. Very funny. Nipuna, we need to get you on here to talk about words.
Oh, totally. She'd be so fun to have on. So I
Yeah,
came up with this slogan. I did a stand-up comedy on Zoom and I called my show Sorry Not Sorry as I put in the messages. Um
sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, I mean,
but
it
back to you. Let's
I'm
so
fascinated by I'm excited to talk to you about your leaving story because I am still fascinated by how, Shri got from well, I know a lot of Shri's story, but I'm fascinated by did you go to high school? Did you graduate? Did you walk? How was your high school experience? What year did you leave the temple? What like I have so many questions for all of us
yeah.
that,
I
you
want
know,
all of our friends to jump on with us, like,
yeah,
any of you girls here, like Shri, Nipana, like anybody that wants to jump on with us, we would love to have you join us and tell your story because I think they're fascinating, and here's what I know about telling stories, whether you speak them or you write them, it finally gives a place for your story to land.
yeah,
And I don't personally feel like carrying this around for another 50 years. Like I'm pretty much done. And so I'm like I want a place for my story to land and I need to get on with my life.
yeah.
So there's other stories that I want to make happen and that are important in my life besides this.
And one of the things I feel like this is a good time to segue to this particular piece is that one of the things we're trying to do, and Vanessa has set up a website, and what we're going to ask survivors to do, if they so choose, is to share their story, any aspect of it. They can share the harrowing part, or they can share the heroing part.
Yeah.
They can tell us how they survive on a day to day basis.
Mhm.
They can just short videos of this is how I got from here to here.
Mhm.
And we want to not only give them a place where they have a voice, where we want to hear them and we want to honor their stories, but also a place for other people to look and say, "Oh, wow, like that's something I haven't thought of."
Mhm.
And, I mean, I've had, from the time I was in my early 20s until my late 30s, I was in therapy,
Mhm.
trying to figure out what had happened
Yeah.
and trying to navigate now what? How do I find the tools necessary to exist in life?
Is
And
there any one thing that sort of set you up for the next chapter? Was there a modality, a quote you heard, a person you met? Like, what really helped you flip the switch from like that old life to the life you've created?
Well, we're talking about, 56 chapters if we want to pretend that each year is a chapter, even though I feel like I had several lifetimes in each of my years.
Yeah.
But um, it's a lot of chapters to say how did you go from one chapter to another? Because every time I did something different, I
Mhm.
had to start fresh.
Got it.
And it felt like and my original working title of my book was The Reinvention of Vilas because I felt
Mhm.
like I spent my entire life reinventing myself. I was molded and created in this way, and
Mhm.
then every year I was like, but I'm this person, how do I mold myself into the world and reconcile with what all of the people are telling me I have to be? Until the biggest thing that I did was
Mhm.
take personal responsibility, which really sucks.
I mean, that's huge.
I mean, I was like, "Okay, nobody's coming to save me. Nobody gives a shit." Like, sure, everybody's up for like, "And then what happened?" And that's fine, and it does help to, like, share and feel less alone, that's
Yeah.
sure. But that doesn't mean somebody's gonna be like, "Well, geez, it sounds like you had a really rough life. Let me write you a check."
I love that you have a checkbook. Who the hell has a checkbook?
It's my office. I have to.
Oh my god, that's so awesome. That was not a prop.
It was
That
not a
was
prop. It was a legit. Uh, and it bounces. It bounces. Thank you. But no, but nobody was gonna fix it. Not
yeah,
my therapist, not any of the husbands, not any of the wives, not my parents, not my friends, not their responsibility. It was nobody's responsibility at the end of the day to fix it.
yeah,
But I had inherited or been given or gifted all of the damage of the first 18 years of my life. And I had no choice but to figure out how to use whatever tools I could find and build a house now that I was an adult.
yeah,
And I could either build a rickety house that had holes in the roof that, flooded and had no plumbing because those were the tools that I had. I didn't know.
yeah,
And, or I could learn and figure it out. And so it's been a journey trying to learn to be an adult and to be completely self sufficient and to be responsible and to understand what relationships are for. Relationships are for enhancing us. You
mhm,
don't go broken to somebody and say, "You want to be my friend? I can't do anything on my own. Would you go grocery shopping for me once a week?" No, I don't want to be your friend if you can't go grocery shopping for yourself. If
right,
you're like, "I do this, this, and this, and I'm self sufficient like this," people are like, "Oh, I want to be next to that. I wanna do those things, like, it's the growing that people are attracted to. It's the being self-sufficient that people are like, "Oh, that looks fun.
mhm,
Does it feel fun?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, in the moment, I don't love grocery shopping, but I'm glad I'm able to do it."
yeah.
I mean, you really have to look at the big picture of things and say, "What do I want out of my life? Who do I wanna be? How
Well,
do I?"
in some ways, you had, like, this weird clean slate, like, not clean slate, but in some ways, you had some people would just do anything to have choices and not to have parents who are up their butt and telling them what to do and where to go and whatever. I always felt like sometimes the gift of not having traditional family was that I had no traditions to break. I got to do whatever I wanted and make up my life exactly the way I want. So, do you ever feel like there's a little bit of a gift in it or no? Like,
Um, One of my favorite
not
quotes
to
is,
be bypassy either. This is not to bypass any pain. It's just
"No, but it doesn't matter," and I don't mean that in the pain doesn't matter. I mean that in whether you have the pain or you don't have the pain, you're still required to function. You
mhm,
don't get to call the grocery store and say, "My back really hurts today," or "I'm having a PTSD event. Can you deliver blah, blah, blah to me and also for free? Thank you." Like,
yeah,
that's not an option in society.
yeah,
You still have to do the things
yeah.
unless you can manage to get on a whole bunch of social programs, which we're about to. not having this country
Continue.
anymore, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who's going to take care of me?
Yeah.
Nobody. Nobody's going to take care of me. So, what are my options? Take care of myself.
Yeah.
That was the option. And one of my favorite sayings is necessity is the mother of invention. So, if I needed something, and I had a husband, he was my third husband, and he was very not nice. And I was a stay-at-home mom, and so if I wanted anything, I had to negotiate for it, and, my grandmother had left me a piano, and I had the piano, but I didn't have a piano bench, and he's like, "We're not spending money on that." So, I went to the hardware store, and I bought some wood. I went to the cloth store, and I bought, like, a faux leather piece, and a cushion, and I built a piano bench
That's amazing.
because,
You
you
needed
know,
a piano bench.
I needed a piano bench. I wanted a new dishwasher, and he felt that I was working just fine. Why do we need a new dishwasher? And so he said, I'll pay for a new dishwasher, but I'm not paying for the install. So I installed it. I figured out I had a 6-month-old walking crawling around on the floor in the kitchen, and I had the whole dishwasher pulled out, and I just reconnected the way I saw it
Mhm.
connected, and it
That's pretty impressive.
but, I mean, this is how, though. Like, if I said to you, "I'm sorry, Vanessa, I'm not coming to fix your toilet," but you could YouTube it
Yeah. Well,
and
I
figure it
think
out,
yeah,
then you could.
yeah.
You
I put
you
my
know?
brakes on my first car. The brakes on my little Volkswagen Box or whatever it was. I did all the brake pads and put the brakes in and bled the brakes and did the whole thing myself because I had to.
Necessity.
It's a necessity. But how cool is that?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of us are capable of
Very
doing things.
cool.
And it doesn't mean it's fair, like, I'm laying there trying to do something. I have switched out toilets, I've installed chandeliers,
Yeah,
I've put tile in, like, I'm capable of doesn't mean that I necessarily want to do it again, but knowing that I have the ability, and I frequently ask myself, like, "What are you dependent on? What are you capable of living without?"
yeah,
And make sure that everything is not a harmful dependency.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being dependent on certain things,
Right.
but
One of the things I think in our childhood, and this goes for anybody who's kind of had this abandonment wound, is that you become hyper independent. And I don't think of that as bad. I never thought that anybody who can handle their shit is it's not a diagnosis, right? The fact that you can do all of these things for yourself is remarkable. People have been, it's amazing, right? But do you ever feel like there's a point where this idea of hyper independence isn't positive, or is this super competent, very independent person kind of always on the winning side?
no, only when you weaponize it in such a way where you're maybe passive aggressive about it, or no, I'll do it myself.
Yeah,
That's not necessary. Like, I'm happy to let somebody else do something for me, and grateful,
yeah,
knowing full well that I'm capable of doing it myself.
cool.
So I am hyper independent,
Yeah.
and I sometimes cross that line. Like, let's say when I'm sick and I'm already at a deficit, and I'm like, I'm gonna go make my own soup and rice, and because nobody loves me. But which isn't true. And so I could very easily pick up the phone, and any of the people on this live would be like, "Do you need me to send you a bowl of ramen?"
Exactly.
So, like, I know that I have the ability to ask for help, and I know when I should take it,
Yeah.
except for when I'm sick, I forget. But
That's
I
one.
don't think there's something wrong with being hyper independent if you don't use it passive aggressively or in a weaponized, like, I do everything, but
A
I
victim way. Yeah.
I am not a victim in that. This is an empowerment, this is my choice, but also I can't you can't be hyper independent if you're going to be resentful about it. It
Right.
it's
Doesn't
not a
work.
good.
No.
No. So
And the
having that,
opposite of it has the opposite effect. Yeah.
yeah, it does.
Okay.
So
Well,
I think it's good. Yeah. So just in summary, because we've run out of time yet again, because we could talk forever. Um, so yeah, so that was my leaving journey.
I have a
And
question. How did the temple respond to your blooped letter? Like, was there any impact?
yes, my mother told me I should probably never go back to Vrindavan again. And I said, no problem,
Got it.
because Janadar had told her that I wrote a nasty gram. And I was like, I'm so glad that that letter was the nail in my coffin. Thank you. I
Yeah,
will certainly take him up on that and never go there again.
good. Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, I think part of okay, so just to summarize
Yeah.
today, um, we did my leaving and freedom into the world, still basically feeling like out of the frying pan and into the fire,
Yeah.
but I could jump a little bit and I wasn't being burned by oil. And so I didn't burn. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a terrible metaphor.
You got married twice after the temple. You had 3 children,
Yes, I actually got married 4 times after the temple, but
4 times after the temple, and
yeah,
you had your 3 babes.
I did.
And now you are
I am a full adult who is still trying every day to be the very best person I possibly can.
happily
And
married,
I have what?
unhappily married, happily loved.
Very, very happily married to my fifth marriage and my forever marriage, I hope. I if I'm so lucky to have her every day. I'm writing a toast. Don't tell her. I'm hoping that I can be brave enough to share it on her birthday. But
Because her
she's just
birthday this weekend.
yeah, on Sunday. And I mean, she's just the most amazing thing. And I still don't know how because I still question my ability to make the right choices because I always have to second guess everything. I always have to go, but wait, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
And I overthink everything and I big picture everything. And then you know,
Mhm.
zoom in on it. And it's, everything is a second guess. And so I'm working on it. I've finally stopped apologizing for my name.
Good.
Um, I do know that I'm really good at my job. I do enjoy my job most of the time. I'm a real estate broker and property manager, so it is rewarding and challenging. But mostly right now, my mission is, to raise survivors' voices and to help try and end child marriage as part of that bigger picture of women and girls oppression, which is directly linked to, the patriarchy and religion. But that's going to be a really slow thing for society to reconcile with. So
That's
I
gonna
have
take a
very
long time.
unpopular opinions. So
Yeah, you and me both. Most people don't know my opinions.
oh, we're getting there. Oh, can't wait. Oh, I know. Yeah, I can't wait for that episode.
I've been, the good girl for a very long time, and, yeah, yeah. Anyways,
I don't.
you are such a remarkable woman, and I think that you've just had this extraordinary life that has taken you on so many pathways, like, away from yourself, but you've continually found the way back to you and build yourself up in this life that you've created that is just like, amazing. I know I'm using these big words, but I'm just like, I'm really amazed by what you've created with the tools you were given and without the tools that you were given, you made them up.
Yeah,
And look at what you've done and who you've become. And, we don't know when it'll be when women will have equal rights or when we'll have a more balanced society, but you're definitely part of all of that in history, making history in the right direction. So thank you
you
for
too,
everything you
sister.
do.
You too. And we are very excited to start on your journey next week.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm excited to share it because again, I want it to land and then I got to go do other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's part of the process of healing, which is why I'm excited about the platform for people to share their stories.
We want to
And
hear from everybody. So, we'll pick and choose what's the right fit. But yeah, whether it was a marriage or a political cult, something that was high control, we want to know like what your story was, how you got out, what were the tools that you used uh, to free yourself.
or maybe you're not even free and you still want to just say this happened, you know? I mean, we want to be able to let so even maybe some anonymity, I don't know, we're still in the beginning of that process, but you know, being able to, and then of course Vanessa's passion, which is, finding joy through trauma and pain, and I do believe it's possible. I believe that we can find joy, and I don't know if a lot of people know how to identify it, so these are all conversations that we want to have.
Yeah. I didn't know how to identify it until I went to my first improv class. And then there was an embodied joy that I had felt when I was 12, but that was the last time I had met joy. So, yeah, playtime at some point. We got to heal,
Yeah.
but sometimes playing is a path to healing. So, anyways, all set. Does anybody have any questions or last minute comments before we wrap up for today? Thank you, everyone, for coming and your comments. And yeah, Nipana and Tree, we're gonna hit you up for our vocab sesh.
Try not to be too humble.
Cult speak. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, please continue to follow us, share the podcast with your friends, help us get the word out there. This is all being posted on YouTube also. So you can check out the Blooped podcast on YouTube if you guys would do us a huge favor and subscribe on YouTube. We want to get picked up by Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's our big goal because we want to get this out there. And I think this is a story, the Hari Krishna story deserves to be told by us. Um, not from the leaders. That's a too popular story. Our stories need to be told. Yes. And on Spotify. Oh, good. You saw it on Spotify. Okay. That means that our channeling is working.
Okay.
Our tech stuff that we're still trying to figure out. So yeah, cool.
I was saying nips and I wrote nis. You're not too humble, Nips. You can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're the perfect person to do it. You and Shri know all of the words.
All of them. All of them. Cool. All right, you guys. Are you good? Do you have anything else you wanna add in for today?
No, I think we're good. I'm excited for all of this because I just keep thinking we have so much content. I keep thinking, what are we going to talk about? And then there's just so much. So I'm
There's
I'm
no
excited for
Yeah.
excited for the next time.
Yep. Okay, awesome.
Join us next week.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Julie, Hope, Nips, Shri. Good to see everybody.
Hey, bye.
All right. And Christine and Mimi. Thank
Yes,
you guys.
thank you.
All
Ciao.
right. Bye.
Bye.